Jesus never received from him. He said, follow me, I will make you fishers of men. The ones he make sustain the capacity to do what only him can do. But the ones to whom he gave, they came again and again and again to receive. In fact, Jesus multiplied bread and gave to people, and the next day they were looking for him. And Jesus himself testified. He said, you are not looking for me because you desire me. He said, you are looking for me because I gave you bread yesterday. So the man who comes to receive will always come again for more. But the man who becomes receives the capacity to replicate that which is given, because he becomes an extension of the dominion of God to a generation and to a territory. And so part of the series we are looking at is to help us come to that point where we become men that can bear the witness of God to our generation and to our territories. And there are two series we're looking at simultaneously. The first series we're looking at is the series of the I am. Because we said the only way you can become in this kingdom is when you go through the process of spiritual metamorphosis. And metamorphosis in the kingdom is achieved only by beholding him. He said, we all with open faces. 2 Corinthians 3:18. Beholding as in a glass the image of the Lord, we are changed. I said there are many things you want to do now, but this expression of you cannot do it. Most of you have desires to bring God to a generation. Most of you have desires to reach the needs of people on behalf of God. But this, your dimension, cannot achieve that. No matter the decisions and resolutions you make, it can't happen, because until you are metamorphosed, those dimensions can never find expression. And I gave us an instance of a butterfly. At the state of an egg, no matter what the egg does, it can never fly. Because flying is not a possibility for an egg. But when that butterfly undergoes metamorphosis, naturally wings will appear. And when the wings appear, the butterfly doesn't need to pray to fly, because it has attained a maturity level where flying becomes a natural byproduct of that realm. And so we want to look at how men can journey with God through metamorphosis. And we said the only way we can achieve it is by looking at the portrait of the Christ. And Christ himself revealed that he is the I am. And we said when we are studying the I am, there are 7 tributaries we will look at. And we began looking at it one after the other. Please help the brother. One after the other, we started looking at those dimensions. And while we were looking at those dimensions, on Sundays, we were looking at another route entirely. And we call them peace be still. Pastor Victor, attend to that brother. Just help calm him down. We said there were 7 classes we began to look at in the school of process. Because we said no man appears in this kingdom. Every man you see doing something worthwhile for God went through a process. And so I began to open those classes to us. And that's the class we're actually trying to round up tonight. I said there were 7 classes in the school of process that every believer who will have capacity to advance God's kingdom must go through. There is no boycotting classes in this kingdom. No matter what a man attempts to do, if he fails any class in his manifestation, you can trace it if you have spiritual understanding. You can see a man raising the dead, and so much is happening. But when you look at that man, the lack of character in his manifestation will reveal to you that he has violated some classes in the school of process. And you can see a man with all the character required, but there will be a deficiency in power and in manifestation. Even though his character is correct, the deficiency of power is also a revelation that he violated certain classes in the school of process. So for a man to become a perfect and complete minister, there is a route he must follow. You know, the Bible said the scriptures were given to reprove, to correct, to instruct in righteousness, that the man of God may be complete, thoroughly furnished unto every good work. In order for God to thoroughly furnish a man, he carries him through a school. That school is called the school of process. And I said the first class everybody goes through in the school of process is the class of encounters. Samuel was dedicated to God. He lived all his life in the temple, but it doesn't mean he will amount to anything. Sleeping on the altar does not make you a servant of God. Encounters are the beginning of our journey with God. Even though Samuel, upon his winning, was brought to the temple, dropped at the altar. In fact, in 1 Samuel chapter 3, the Bible said when the Ewe lamp were gone off, Daniel was still in the temple. But his stay in the temple did not change his story. What changed Samuel's story was the encounter he had with God. And in 1 Samuel chapter 3 verse 4, the Bible said the voice of God came calling him, Samuel. And he said, here I am, Lord. In 1 Samuel chapter 3 verse 21, the Bible said the Lord appeared again to Samuel in Shiloh. The Lord revealed himself to Samuel in Shiloh by the word of the Lord. And if you study 1 Samuel 3:20, it said Samuel was established as a prophet, and all of Israel could bear proof to it. What established Samuel as a prophet? It was the encounters that he had with God. I told us how that Moses had so much body to deliver Israel. In fact, he went on an attempt of those bodies to begin to kill the Egyptians. But when the vengeance of Pharaoh manifested, he ran for his life. The ambition, the burden he had was not enough to advance kingdom. Because when you begin, you will discover that there are dark principalities that carry wickedness as a weapon. You know, the Bible says we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, and against spiritual wickedness. If you don't have an encounter to fortify you, when spiritual wickedness show up, if you don't run, you will die. So Moses ran for his life until while he was keeping his father's in-laws' sheep, the Bible said he went to the backside of the wilderness, even unto Horeb, the mountain of God. He said there he saw a bush burning that was not consumed, and God showed up and said, Moses, Moses. When he turned, he said, take off thy shoes, where you are standing is holy ground. The same Egypt Moses ran from, he came back with the staff. But this time around, the staff he took to the wilderness was not the staff he brought back. The staff he took to the wilderness was the staff of Moses. But the one he came back to Egypt, it was called the rod of God.